Yep.
Hello and welcome to live post-match reaction to the Blues versus the Chiefs. And boy, was it a cracker. Michael and I are here, and I think we're having heart palpitations. It finished in the end 21-27 to the Chiefs. And Mike, are you okay there? Do I need to call an ambulance for you? Because that was a heart pounder.
Oh, I've been telling myself for the last 2 minutes since that whistle that I need to compose myself before coming on the show.
Oh, dearie me. So yes, let's just throw out a couple of the Blues have won one of their last 24 New Zealand derbies. The last time the Blues beat the Chiefs was on the 26th of March 2011. That's a few years ago. And yeah, it's continuing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, probably the closest that the Blues have come to beating the Chiefs since that year, to be honest. Yeah, what a fantastic game of rugby. Just everything you can imagine. Drama, mistakes, teams coming back when they were out of it. Fantastic. That's why we love the game, and you'd be pretty hard pressed to find even the test match that would give better action than that.
Absolutely, but let's wind the clock back 2 hours, and we're heading into the game. And the Chiefs lost two key players before the game even started. Bodie Retallick had some eye issues from training midweek, and then Sean Stevenson managed to mess his knee up in the warm-up. At that point, I was like, so I tweeted out at the time, if the Blues can't win this, then they really are in trouble, because that's the Chiefs' injury list is shockingly long.
Yeah, and I mean to lose, two players that you've named in your starting lineup, day of game, that's sort of the worst thing that could ever happen to a team, and considering the what's happened already, I was really concerned that this would sort of go to the Chiefs' head, and early on it looked like it kind of had, but yeah, I mean Tian Falcon for the Chiefs, I thought played really well in the position, and yeah.
Yeah, Tian Falcon did well coming on. Obviously, he was expecting to be on the bench. It did mean that the Chiefs had an uneven bench. They had a 5-2 split. No, that's 5-2 split. Is that right? No, 6-2 split. Sorry, and you have 8 players on the bench, don't you? Whereas the Blues had your conventional 5-3 split. So the Chiefs were down back cover on the bench because of those injuries. Yeah, that was it. There's just a couple of comments from the live chat. Christian says, "I'm not picking the Blues in Super Brew ever again." Blah blah. That was obviously is a picking game. And Joel Boddicker says, "I had Sean Stevenson in my fantasy team. Feels bad, man." Well, I think it feels probably bad for more bad for him with his bust knee than it does for you. But even so, yeah, that was a lot of people's super picks will have gone awry, and a lot of people's fantasy teams will also have been messed up this evening. It was also, I noticed early on, I think Falcon and DMAC were switching around at first receiver. It wasn't a classic 10 and 15, was it? They both were switching themselves in and out of that on attack, which I think took a lot of the pressure off Falcon as well. He knew that it wasn't all down to him. He had DMAC there to help cover him as well.
Yeah, and you saw McKenzie come into that 10 slot when he needed to. Despite being called in to start late, I really felt that, Tian, I keep calling him Tyler, but Tian Falcon had nothing to lose, and I thought he played really well. And Damien's used to being at 15, doesn't he? So pretty easy transition, no matter, despite how late it was in the piece.
It was, but to give people an idea as to how much they switched around, if we look at something like, so Brent Gatland was 14 passes, 5 runs, and Nanai, who was at fullback, had 2 passes and 11 runs. You compare that to the Chiefs combination, you've got Falcon, 11 passes, 5 runs, pretty similar to Gatland. But then you got McKenzie, 10 passes, 10 runs. So you can see he stepped up into that role and was passing the ball a lot more, supporting Falcon, who was obviously new into that position. And but as you say, early doors, it felt like the Chiefs were in trouble. Pulu managed to get over after an offload from Parsons. And again, it was another line-out maul that basically the Blues messed up, and they got lucky in that they managed to break away. But a story of the game was actually that the Blues set piece didn't function tonight at all, really.
No, it didn't. But that first try that Pulu got, I thought was pretty outstanding. Really, the amount of players he actually got himself through to get down. Very good defenders for the Chiefs. So defensively, I felt the Chiefs were pretty poor in that first half. Manani, I can never say this. Nanai for the Blues. Fantastic. Best game I've seen him play in a long time. Really good for him. But yeah, the Chiefs, there's a few moments there. Anton Leonard-Brown rushing up in defense, not needing to, which led to Akira Ioane running and handing it off to, can't remember who it was, to score the Blues' second try.
No, it was Moala who got the break, and then it was Akira Ioane who actually scored the second try. But in the live chat, Konke Fitpaz, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, make Melanai an All Black. People have been calling about that. He has the skills, he just hasn't shown the consistency previously. We all know he has the skills. We just want to see him put it out week after week. So yes, a great performance from him, but we need to see more of it. And as you say, the defense from the Chiefs in that first half was pretty poor. Right? They missed, how many is it? They missed 33 tackles in that game, which is shocking. And they had a 67% tackle success ratio. And a lot of those, way more than half of them were in the first half. At the end of the first half, the Chiefs had a tackle complete percentage below 50%. It was shocking. And the fact that you can have a tackle percentage below 50% and still only be 4 points behind, wow, that was the Blues really didn't take advantage of that in the first half like they should have done. We had Dave McKenzie. He missed 3 kicks on the trot. He missed a penalty after 9 minutes, and both conversions. Which you've got to say was his radar was off in the first half, and the Chiefs were missing tackles. The Blues victims or brought their own downfall, I should say, in this game by not making more advantage of that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They, considering that amount of tackles missed, you'd think they'd be in. The Blues would have scored more points. You're right about Damien. Pretty poor in that first half. In fact, probably the worst half of rugby I've ever seen him play, to be fair. Bounced back really well. He's a tough little bugger. He is, man. I mean, I've never seen him being hit that hard, and first time I've ever seen him stay down as well. So to bounce back like he did was really good. The Blues, again, like you said, it's just not taking advantage of the opportunities that are there. And in that last 10 minutes of the first half, that you sort of saw signs of what was to come later on in the match.
Yeah, I can't pronounce his name in the live. Says, I thought it was another patchy game, looking great at times, stopping others from McKenzie. That first half, some bits of his game fell apart. And during the second half, some of his kicks towards touch, he was trying to play territory, but he missed a few of them. He made enough towards the end to keep the Blues out. But yes, not the perfect game from him, but we did have some moments of brilliance from him as well in that. We should probably just run through the other tries. So the Chiefs struck back pretty quickly after that first try on 7 minutes. After 12 minutes, we had the crash ball off the scrum. Extremely quick to recycling the ball, and the next player goes over, and basically the Blues never had a chance to get their defence reset after that wonderful crash ball. I can't remember who ran it up, but it was a very good move.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who scored that first Chiefs try. It feels like a fortnight ago now.
and it was quickly quickly recycled. Another bit that went on later, where there was we had a Blues playing under penalty advantage. They tried the crossfield kick. I think it's the only time in the game they tried it. Damien McKenzie jumps up with two hands and bats the ball down. Deliberate knock on. I thought actually, rather than going back for the original penalty, he could have easily been yellow carded for that one.
Actually, a couple of instances where players could have been yellow carded for deliberately knocking down the ball. Trying to remember the second one in the second half. But yeah, Brent Gatlin, for as good as he was with the try he scored, he seemed to, a bit like McKenzie last week, very set in a certain mindset and not able to adapt when under pressure and.
Yeah, absolutely. What I sent out tweets during the second half that we had, I could see Nanai lined up out wide on the right wing. The person defending against him is Damien McKenzie. We know Damien McKenzie is a great fullback, but one of the things he's not great at is under the high ball. He can be susceptible to that. Why the Blues didn't try a crossfield kick at some point when they were under advantage to try and isolate Dame McKenzie against Nanai for that kind of situation, I really don't understand. And yeah, as you say, I think Brent Gatlin was just too rigid in the game plan that he'd been told to play.
Yep, as were the Blues, across the park, really. Yep.
So we had the crash ball try from the Chiefs. Then we had Moala, who avoided the Antoinette Brown rushing out of defence. Quick recycle. It was a bit messy, given to Akiri Iwani. If you've got broken field play, it's a bit messy. What you want is a sevens player who knows how to take advantage of it. And we saw that through and through with Akiri there.
Yeah, he beat three defenders, stormed past two of them, and they were still hanging on, I think. And then McKenzie, last line of defence, he just bowled right over him. So, like you said, though, when you give someone like that space, same as Liam Messam or any of those other really class forwards, it's really hard to stop them. It kind of, you're fooled almost into, and when you're watching it, to think, yeah, they'll take this guy down, but once that train starts rolling, it's pretty hard to bring down.
Yep, it is. It's very hard to bring down, but the Chiefs after that managed to get their back line clicking. Got some great running lines, and Wainui went over out wide, and it was at that point you suddenly saw it took the Chiefs a good 25 minutes to really get their game going, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It did. That's something that they need to work on, because you're not going to win. You're not going to win competition if you start like that. And same for the Blues. They need to work on how they finish games as well. So.
Yep, it's a bit surprising, really, that with all those missed tackles, that we didn't get another score after 26 minutes, and the second half finished 14-10. That doesn't mean there wasn't other excitement in that first half, because wow, we had some big hits coming in. Duffy clears out a ruck and puts himself, lays himself out prone on the ground, gets up about 2 minutes later and hits Damien McKenzie, one of the hardest hits he's probably ever had. That was a big hit on Damien McKenzie by Duffy there.
Yeah, well, Duffy should have been penalised for the clean out on I think it was Messam at the breakdown. I mean, they've been drumming it into these players that you can't do that sort of stuff, and yet he does something like that and it goes sort of unnoticed.
Well, hang on, I'll describe it, because he came in, he bound onto the guy and drove him through and out. That's fine. As long as you bind, it's okay. They were both bound together, rolling around on the floor, so I don't really have much to complain about that, really. Yeah,
but I mean, you've seen worse. I'm sorry, not as worse get penalised in the past. So it needs to be a bit of consistency here. But yeah, the hit on McKenzie, like I tweeted, the Blues wanted to target Damien, and they did. They had him marked pretty much all game, really, and some of those hits were just straight with the shoulder and just knocked them down.
And but it's okay when we say targeted him. I think targeted legally. There were no high shots going in. Whilst they didn't necessarily always get to wrap the arms, they were trying to wrap the arms. There was no blatant sort of shoulder charges with no arms. So yeah, there were big hits, but they weren't nasty hits. So there were some great big hits tonight. Second half, the Chiefs got an early opportunity, messed it up, and I thought at that point, that's the Chiefs in trouble tonight.
Yeah, well, I mean, but the white line fever, I think is the term. But I apart from that, I thought they had a pretty fantastic second half overall. So they always had to be the first to score. If they had have, I think, even gone down by a further 3 after the half, they would have been in a lot of trouble. So it was crucial, that they got their first score, and that they did. Took them a while, but after that, as you allude to, it kind of got rocking pretty quickly.
It did. 47 minutes. They'd been dominating the half up until that point, and they eventually got a try from a line-out maul. They perhaps should have got one quicker, but hey, at the end, they got it, which was good. And Damien's radar came back, so he started hitting those kicks, which became, which I think was crucial for the whole scoreboard pressure.
Well, he's a confidence player, and the Chiefs, despite being down at half time, I think they came out of the sheds with the message from Cooper must have been really, really good, and it must have connected with their hearts and minds, because they came out, I felt, much more positively than they did throughout the entire first half. And for a guy like Damien, he feeds into that, and I think that's why you saw his kicking improve. And, you can't really blame him in some ways for the first half being a bit down on confidence and being a bit on edge, because you've just lost the major part of your back line and also one of your core leaders in the forward pack.
True, they had enough leaders though to keep them going, which I think we'll say later on. We'll say that the Blues lacked. Jason in the chat says Blues are so frustrating to watch. When they're leading, it's not going to last, and we kind of saw that when Nanai tried to go for the miracle offload and just didn't make it. Dropped the ball on the ground. Weber picks it up, and he's got some pace for a. In fact, both of the scrum halves had pace, but he had enough pace to get himself home and basically open up the margin that was to prove crucial in the end.
And that was a real shame for Nanai, because I felt that he was one of the best players in the park tonight. Certainly the best for the Blues. And one little mistake like that, and you can see what he's trying to do, and it leads to a try that had suddenly turned the game. I mean, they'd gone in leading, and suddenly they've coughed up 14 unanswered points in 10 minutes. So, yeah, really, really harsh bounce of the ball, really, for them. But there's a comment here. Joel Boddicker, he says the Duffy clean-out was completely legal, which I agree. But I do agree with what he says. It's pretty questionable morally, because the guy was actually just there, as it said in the comment, on his knees. He wasn't really in a position that needed that sort of force. No,
I think he was trying to drive over. It was a game that we saw a lot of where they could put legal hits in. They were there, but where they knew that they were on the edge, they didn't. So I remember there was a time when Rieko Ioane could have nailed Damien McKenzie, because he's behind his own line. He's got the ball and he just touched it down for 22 just before Rieko arrives. If Rieko could quite justifiably say, I was already in the move, I was just following through on my tackle, and could have nailed him there. Maybe he'd got. Then it would have been questionable as to whether he'd got done for it or not. But I think that the players today managed to keep their heads and didn't lose their heads around when you were allowed to sort of be physical and when you weren't. When there were no handbags, which was kind of good to see. I've got down here in capitals after that Weber try. It feels all over. And at that point, I thought, the Blues. That's it. The Blues' heads are going to go down. They're in trouble. They gave up a fairly easy 3 points to Damien McKenzie, who notched over for being offside soon afterwards, and it all looked to be going south. But credit to them, they turned it round after that.
Yeah, they did, and I think a big reason for that is they actually had possession of the ball. You know, they were starved of the ball that first 12 minutes of the second half. You know, and with a team with that much talent, I don't think you can ever rule them out. They were always going to come back into the game, and you know, I think they actually did quite a good job of getting back into the game, and they had their chances, you know, right up until full time.
Yeah, my notes here again, up to 54 minutes was all Chiefs, but after that it was pretty much all Blues. And I think part of that was down to the Chiefs were like, okay, let's play out this. Let's make the Blues win it rather than us lose this game. And by that I mean they were kicking for territory. They were going to say, right, go. You've got to score from long Blues if you're going to win this game. But we're not going to try it. But they didn't try and put the game away, which was interesting, because I think in New Zealand sides you'd expect them to try and finish it off, and the Chiefs just looked like they decided they didn't try and do that. No,
they didn't. I thought that Mackenzie in particular was quite reserved for him, really, when they had the lead, and maybe he was just trying to add something to his game. And obviously, there's a lot of talk about him leading this back line, and he did a couple of kicks that didn't really work out very well. I think one went out on the full. He went back to the same kick 3 or 4 times. Didn't really execute well on any of them. So maybe he himself was just trying to, you know.
I think he got a couple of them towards the end in the last sort of 10 minutes or so. But yeah, you're right. Out of about 6 or 7, he only got about 2 right. He did try it quite a few times. We should probably talk about the last try. The Blues never kicked for goal, always kicked for the corner. It looks like everyone has taken the Hurricanes playbook in that kind of sense. And after several failed attempts, eventually Gatland went through, hit a good line, and went through untouched on other posts.
Yep. And I think at that point you sort of felt that obviously it was game on again, and I wouldn't have been surprised. When Gatland scored that try, I said to myself, look, every chance the Blues are actually going to come back and win this game. And you know. Yeah,
I felt a bit like that way, but after that, then we had some good Chiefs defending. I'll say they did miss a lot of tackles. That was mainly in the first half. In the second half, they were much better. The decision making from the Blues was poor. We've already said they didn't try the crossfield kicks. They didn't try to mix it up very often. We saw Collins and Duffy, I think it was, run to the sideline and try and make a break in that 5 metre and run out of space and get tackled out to give the ball back to the Chiefs and give up territory again. And yeah, the Blues just seemed to lack leaders once Pulu went off injured.
Yeah, that was a huge moment. Pulu was outstanding tonight. From the first touch he had of the ball, I thought it was really, really good. I think it was just the second or third touch when he broke through the Chiefs line there in the first half. Yeah, once you lose a guy like that, who was also a captain, and Parsons, I think, had already gone off or went off not long after that. So they were down on 2 leaders, and you know, but they still had Moala, they still had Nanai, and Rico Ioane as well. I mean, he was fantastic.
They still had game breakers, but they didn't have leaders on that pitch. I think that was the big difference at that point, is that we had you got a mixture of inexperienced people like Gatland and whoever the scrum half was. I didn't recognise him particularly, who don't have a lot of experience. So your core decision making is when you're 9, 10, 12, and Akira Ioane is not also isn't a great leader yet. He may or may not become one, we don't know. So you're 8, 9, 10, 12. Your whole decision making group were all inexperienced, not really decision makers.
Yeah, well, I mean, one could argue that Akira Ioane would be a bit more of a leader if he actually, you know, listened to what his coaches were telling him. But because all signs coming out of Auckland, he's a bit too cool for school, if you know what I mean. But yeah, you know, I felt the Chiefs, you know, for all the talk about the difference in leadership between these two teams, apart from Sam Cane, I mean, did the Chiefs really have leadership, experienced leadership on that field? I don't think so, and I think it showed as well.
Sam Cane was definitely, you could see him talking at key moments, making keeping the guys' heads in the game. Brad Webber is a bit more, it's definitely more experienced on that side. Unfortunately, he ended up being on the wing, I think, at some point due to injuries, and that weak, sorry, that's not weak, it's the wrong word. Sorry, that thin bench, only having 2 backs on the bench. So yeah, they did have some problems around that as well, but they came through it, which was very good. And when Pooley went off, the ref was asking the Blues players, "So who's captain?" And they all look around at each other. No one stepped up and said, "Me, I'm captain. I'm going to lead it from here." And I think that tells you a lot.
I think that comes back to the coaches, to be honest. No disrespect to Umaga and the rest of them, but are the players clear on what their roles are?
Yep, no, I think there's that's definitely an element. I think Umaga needs to sort that out, because I say they had that lack of leaders, and it's not going to help that players like Kano and Mawala are going at the end of the season. Some comments in the chat are that Mawala was whilst he's got a good player, he's got some skills. He's too selfish at times, and wasn't passing it and using the guys outside him. I think there were a number of times when that happened. I think there were several times when there were players who were too selfish and didn't pass it out when there were overlaps or players out wide they could have used. Yeah,
definitely. I was yelling at the TV as a Chiefs supporter. I was yelling at the TV when Mawala didn't pass. He had 2 guys who were, the second of which was going to be free and probably a free run to the line. And just maybe that's why Mawala isn't a regular feature on this All Black side. Maybe it's that decision making. Yes, I'm making a run downfield. I'm joining the defenders, but I'm kind of ignoring the players that are on my side, and there's no way Steve Hansen's going to select someone like that with that lack of clarity in those moments when they can't do the basics really.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Just got to tell someone to calm down in the chat. So I think I've covered all the points I have written down on my big new notebook to go through the game. What about you? Any final points from yourself?
Yeah, I think people need to get off the Blues a wee bit here. It's already started on Twitter. Come on. I mean, they actually played really, really well. You just got to credit, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Chiefs fan, which I am, but the better team won at the end of the day. And if you don't believe me, we'll go back and look at 14 unanswered points started the second half. The Blues were in a position at halftime to win this game. Yes, the Chiefs were always going to come back, but when that tackle rate in the first half tells you a lot about what you need to know as well.
Yeah, I think both teams had more opportunities to score more points than they did. They both left points out there. They both showed good play, and they both showed that this is still early season for them. There's definitely more to come from both these teams.
Yeah, there is, and I don't think it's all doom and gloom for the Blues. I mean, they've got to trip South Africa. It's going to be really hard to beat the Lions, and I think the Stormers over there. So they're going to return to New Zealand probably without a win, and they're going to have to start winning these Kiwi derbies. And I thought they came about as close tonight as they have in a long time. Similar to the game against the Highlanders at Eden Park last year, opportunity at the end and couldn't capitalise. So Chiefs, credit to them, but look, injuries, man, I mean, that's going to be a huge problem moving forward. Yeah,
so as we said, the Blues need to learn how to close out games better, and the Chiefs need to learn how to, need to get going earlier in games as well. Is kind of the sort of things we've learned over the last couple of weeks. And moving on a little bit, so with all those injuries, when are we seeing Beaver and Zach Guildford joining the side?
Well, I'd say Guildford won't be too far away, especially if someone like Declan O'Donnell goes down as well. I only saw what I saw on TV in terms of Sean Stevenson, but that's a real worry. That could be 3 or 4 weeks at least. And Ngatai and Bird are still 2 weeks away. Earliest they'll return is maybe the match against the Bulls, and that's best case scenario. So, a big problem, but who knows? You never know. The Chiefs, they could end up getting Ross Filippo back for all I know. It's just they've got so many connections to all these old guys who you'd never think were ever going to play Super Rugby again. How good was it though to see Declan O'Donnell out there? I hope he gets more game time as well, and loved what I saw from Tian Falcon, and
no, some good players getting some opportunities and doing well. A couple of comments. Joel saying Beaver is a beast. He may have been in his youth. He's getting a bit on a bit now, to be honest. So I'm not sure he's a beast anymore. He's a good quality player who'll lead you around the park, but he's not a beast who's going to bash through anybody. Let's be honest about there. Good comment by Andre as well. No cards, good discipline from both teams, and that's very true. The penalty count in the end being 7-10. We have said there were times we could have had technical yellows, but there were no violent yellows in this game. The other player actually also that you lost, Lualua, looked like possibly a broken arm, so that's going to be weeks rather than days to recover from as well in the propping department. The Chiefs are going to be down to the bare bones.
Yeah, they are, and I think that it spells trouble for me. I don't regret for 1 minute that I picked the Blues tonight. I really felt that they would get up and. I don't think anyone would have predicted the Chiefs would score 14 unanswered points. I think, the scrum was much improved, and like I tweeted, it's sort of ironic because when the scrum went to hell last week for the Chiefs, it all went badly from there, and tonight the scrum was much improved. So.
Yep, the scrum was much improved. The Blues scrum wasn't. Whilst it says the Blues won 7 out of 7 scrums, they were definitely going backwards in some of those. It wasn't clean ball by any stretch of imagination, and their lineout wasn't great. It does say here that the Chiefs lost 2 lineouts, but they weren't key ones from memory. Though I do, they both lost a couple of lineouts, but it felt like the Blues one wasn't as active when they actually did win it. They and obviously throwing a not straight one at the end didn't help anybody. No other real stats jump out at me. I think we've run through everything I want to. So, Mike, thank you very much, sir, for making yourself available again. It is always an absolute pleasure having you on for a chat. Let people know where they can get hold of you and read all your writing and all that kind of stuff.
Cool. So you can follow me on Twitter at RealMikePullman. And then go to lastwordonrugby.com. The great Scott Hornell will be writing up the report tonight. And it'd be interesting to see who he chats to after the game as part of his Blues access. But yeah, just a shout out to the Blues fans. Not all is lost. I'd be as frustrated as you are if I lost all these games in a row, but you got to call the game on its merits, and I don't think it was bad as a lot of people are making out. So just go easy over your cornflake debrief in the morning.
Yeah, no, I think Tony Mang is doing some good things there, but he clearly has other work he needs to still do. He needs to get some help around doing that leadership stuff. Anyway, I've been Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. Obviously, always up for good rugby chats. Please comment down below or get a hold of me at DrivingMaul on Twitter. If you're watching the recording, there's a face there. Please click on that to subscribe. If you're watching it live, do click down below, obviously, and there's also a box there on the recording to watch my latest video. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you so much. Please do subscribe to your favorite podcasting app and give us 5 stars. Other stars are available, but why would you want to? Anyway, I'm off to go watch the Reds versus the Brumbies and try and stay awake. Andre says he'll probably fall asleep during the first half. We'll just have to wait and see. Enjoy whatever you're going to go watch, folks.